Oh. Okay. Hello. Hey, Robert. How's it going tonight? How is your editing? I was gonna say I need to get on that. I've kind of been trying to figure out how I want to do my video for tomorrow. And I wound up with a slight snag in my gardening that is going to indicate that I should be doing something with pak choi in my video for Friday. Mainly just because it decided to bolt. Hey, Ryan, Becky, how are you guys doing? Oh, yeah, I understand that. Okay, before I start doing a whole lot, do you guys have excessive amounts of fan noise? Or am I good? Because, well, it's hot here. Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing tonight? But yeah, it's been up to 5. I think Roy and Becky decided they didn't want quite all of it. Hi, Diva. Is your name actually Diva, or is there another name you would like to be called? Hi, Cassie. All right, so anyways, I am going to hop right into a couple of things. Up first is my water update, and I just realized I managed to get sat down without even my cup handy. I might have to remedy that. Yeah, this week has not been terribly great as far as water goes. I don't know. I've probably managed 32 ounces 3 days. And it's not that I wasn't drinking water the other days. I just didn't drink that much water because most of the time I was laying down. And I was going to say, I guess for those of you guys that haven't having issues with my neck and my back, I did get them to pop a couple of times without going back to the chiropractor. So I am getting better, but now it has gotten really hot. And I don't typically do terribly well with the heat. And yes, I'm in a long sleeve shirt. I really need to do laundry. Yeah, Robert, I have no idea how you handle the heat in Florida. I really don't. I don't know. I'm used to a more gradual spring. And we kind of went from, okay, we're going to be 30 degrees and frosting. And, oh no, we're going to be pushing 90. You did laundry today? Yeah, I was supposed to. I was supposed to do laundry yesterday too. It's still not done. I had to mention, not here in Canada. What is your weather like in Canada right now? Because I've been hearing some people talking like you've got some sort of weird front coming through and it's super cold again. Or at least it seemed like they were making it sound super cold, but then I've heard other people say it's nice and so yeah. Humidity's Becky's problem too, isn't it? Roy and Becky? I don't really know what my problem is. I know heat in general is an issue with the mast cell stuff. But it's kind of extreme temperatures either direction is problematic there. And I don't have AC, so I did bring a fan in out of the kitchen, but we might wind up over by the window before the end of the live stream. 11 degrees Celsius, and you multiply by 2 and add 30? Is that correct? 2 plus 30 would be 50s? Yikes. Yeah, and see, Indiana, we haven't really had, like, we had stay-at-home suggestions for quite a while last year, but it's like, even then, everybody was at this thing, like, and then, I don't know, they've even lifted the mask mandate here at this point. Hi, Fordman, how are you doing tonight? And I think you guys actually have to stay home when you have stay-at-home orders, right? So, anyways, before I forget to, this is why I have these little banner things, because then I actually have a visual to talk. The way I have been structuring my Monday night lives, I had a request for the one about habits, and that just kind of naturally led into the routines and that kind of stuff. I think I am going to be switching it up a bit, and then also sort of redoing some videos. So I was asked for the one about habits, and I realized I'm not a big habits person. And then I'm more of a routines person, and that kind of got me into those. But then at the same time, I was kind of focused on them generally, but not how they have helped me manage my health and that kind of thing. So, sort of more of my focus. So I'm going to kind of redo those into shorter videos and put them out on Saturdays. I don't know. But those will focus more on the chronic illness aspect and how that's helpful. And then I am going to kind of switch my Monday night lives over to various topics that are more focused that way, if that makes sense. I don't know. And then my herb journaling lives will still be the way they have been. I should be back this Thursday. So anyway, that is kind of where I am at on that. Hopefully that works well for you guys. I don't know. I mean, we all kind of have different issues and things that we're working with and doing. Oh, and normally I would say we are rating Karen, but I don't think Karen is actually going live tonight. So, yeah. And I know I've gotten comments from various people about the new Simply Summer short series. So I thought I would kind of we could talk about different aspects people have had benefits from kind of reducing and decluttering and some of that stuff. Just gonna look this way. I was gonna say, I wish I had an empty house so it was easy to clean. I'm still working on that. Oh, it's getting better. I can move this back here and then turn it on. Is that loud to you guys? Hi, Alicia. So Jennifer, do you mind if I ask how you went about doing that? I've kind of used a variety of yeah, I checked right before I hit live, Kenny, and X messages. So, Alicia, did I say hello to you yet? Awesome. I was gonna, sorry. It is hot. And I'm not used to it yet. And you guys can see where my cats have been tearing up my screen. Oh well. Okay. See, I get forgetful in the heat too. So anyway, some things I have noticed, like one of the first things I started working on was my clothes. And when I started doing that and got rid of a bunch of stuff, then there wasn't stuff to be in a pile for laundry. Which actually had multiple benefits, might I add, because that meant I didn't, my laundry is out this door, like in a hallway area. And so like if laundry was backed up, it was piled in front of the washing machine in the hallway, so then I'd trip over it. Cluttered my clothes, like the laundry is just not backed up at all. And it's been really nice. I did have notes for tonight. I just have to find them. Oh, and they didn't save all of them. Nice. So you kind of did sort of a KonMari style. That makes sense. I've done that some. I've kind of done different methods. I kind of started with the Fly Lady 15 minutes at a time thing and never made any progress, I don't think. And then I did the KonMari thing for a while. By that point, I already had my clothes pretty well done, though. I guess the first time I probably cut my wardrobe by, well, I was going to say, I guess at that point I was probably around 70 items and I cut it to about 35. My closet's that way. Have you guys figured out how this works? Yes, she's on at 11. And I feel so bad about that. She had asked me about getting on the thing, and I thought Karen had added her for me. Because she was fixing Monday nights when we moved things around, and I was fixing Tuesday, and then Red messaged me again, and she wasn't there. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I should have checked. I did the uniform thing for a while, too. Like, I had these... It was sort of a wrap style top, and this was back when I worked in an office. And I would always wear black dress pants, and then I just had like 3 or 4 of the same top I would switch between, but I also had other tops at that point too. And So I did that for a while. And then I actually changed. Hi, AJ. And then I actually switched to working in a kitchen, and then I was in a true uniform. I actually, before the shutdowns last year, I actually got to the point, and this is crazy. I'm still looking at my clothes because there's not a door on the closet. So I did have a few things that stayed. But like for what I actually wore during the week, I wore my black pants from work, and I wore white t-shirts that I had to wear for work. And those are actually what are being turned into weed cloth in my garden right now. And then for the most part, I had basically 2 outfits I could switch between. And a couple of, like, it looks like I've got a couple sweaters I would have had and a flannel shirt. And that's all I had. All I had in my closet was literally about 6 or 7 things when the shutdown happened. I had to buy a lot of clothes because and I say a lot, it's not really. I like the uniform idea. I just haven't ever found things that made it work. And I am going to talk about clothes some tomorrow. Well, I am going to talk about clothes in my video tomorrow. So, but yeah, and like lately I have been working on my kitchen. Now, some of you guys I know have been around long enough. You saw my minimalism game series in January. I made a ton of progress in my kitchen with that. Because I was in there for probably 3 weeks out of 4. So I made a lot of progress there. And thank you, Fordman. It's just my bedroom. So, like, these are plants that are kind of just sitting there to get the light. The cabinet looking thing, Dad always called it a barrister cabinet. It just has like some sentimental type keepsakes from Dad, Granddad, grandmother. Scrubs make sense. They don't fit me well. I tried them once. I was wondering if that would stay. I can't find my hair clips. Yeah, like I bought my Instant Pot, and when I bought my Instant Pot, I got rid of my steamer. I donated the last of the crock pots. I got rid of like 3 crock pots over the years. They don't work well with me. They're too heavy. I found that for me, especially with all the food issues, now, I mean, aside from just the pressure cooking aspects that help me with the food issues, having the kitchen simplified, I mean, at one point, I was at that place where, like, we were having to move stuff to even find somewhere to work in the kitchen. And I just realized the other night, most of the time there is at least one section of counter free to work on without having to move anything. Now, granted, you know, I could probably do better when I'm on my non-kid weeks about actually moving dishes. But honestly, if I'm sitting here at the table, the easy thing is when I get done with eating, it's to set it back here on this counter where my Instant Pot is. And like I've got a coffee pot and it seems like it doesn't get a whole lot of use, but at the same time, my kids both like having their coffee when they want their coffee. Hi, Mackenzie. How are you doing tonight? And I think one of the big things for me is just in general reduced stress. And I don't really know how to explain that. I know Dawn from the Minimal Mom has this sort of inventory idea where you're kind of trying to manage this like unwritten to-do list from all of the stuff. And I can, but even just this stress of, even just the stress of trying to remember where stuff's at kind of got to me at times. Hang on. I'm getting messages. Sorry. And he doesn't know my live stream schedule, so yeah, and it's like, I don't know, there have been various times when it's like cleaning is, what's that? And I mean, I would keep things clean enough, but it's like, I'm not going to dust absolutely everything in the house when you know what I mean? I don't know. And see, that it's like, I want to downsize. My kids vetoed the whole RV thing. But it's like, I still want to be smaller. And if I look at my trailer now, so my trailer is 14 wide by, it's a 14 by 70, but that includes the hitch. So it's actually 67 feet long. And see, I don't think I could handle 74 square feet. I really don't. But at the same time, then if I think of, if the kids were out of the house, and which is not that far off. I mean, my son's almost 18. So if I was to be looking at downsizing after they move out, effectively their rooms take up half the trailer. Well, that and a bathroom that we basically just use for storage, and it's not even like storage of stuff, it's like storage of organizing containers right now and stuff to declutter. So, and kitchen countertops, but that's another story. I'm still working on the kitchen. So effectively, I'm already down to half. And then like the laundry area, I don't really use at this point. I literally store paint in there and a dolly to move water to the RV washer that I actually use that's basically behind this blue wall. And like everything in my closet could theoretically fit in my room at this point. Like I could physically fit it in here. It would be cramped and I would get rid of more of it. But it would actually fit. And my kids have already been divvying up my cast iron and stuff. This is part of my problem with minimizing the kitchen, guys. And maybe you can help me with this. I've got 2 teenagers. They both like to cook. and they both have plans to move out and not live at home forever. How do you plan for that? Like, I don't have enough that we could each have one of the same pan, but, you know, and there are some things that they've just kind of stashed. They each have a hope chest. So, like, there's some things that they have stashed. There's some stuff in my closet that I've just moved, like excess dishes, so that they're out of our way in the kitchen, which has made life easier there, but we still have access to them if we absolutely need them. And they can take them with them when they leave. Yeah, and see, like, the shuttle bus idea for me is kind of where I've landed lately. Because so for those of you guys that don't know, I do have something called Ehlers Danlos syndrome. And I was told, I was probably 15 or 16, I was told I would be in a wheelchair full time by the time I was 25. And I just turned 38 and I'm still not in a wheelchair. But eventually it is a likely outcome for me to be in a wheelchair. So it's like the shuttle bus idea, the oral surgeon I go to is in like one of these, I don't want to call it a strip mall. It's like a medical complex thing, but you don't have to go like inside like a hospital to get to his office. Does that make sense? Oh, wow. What are you waiting for if you haven't used it in 8 months? Hey, Blaine, how are you doing tonight? Yeah, and like some of the pans and stuff have been gifted to me with the idea that they're going to move to them later. And like I already know that my daughter probably has her eye on my mom's stainless steel bowl set, which is fine. But it's like stuff like that. I've got stuff that my dad used, stuff that my mom used. I've got stuff from grandmother and granddad. And that's one of those things at this point, I've got stuff from 4 estates plus some stuff that grandma has sent my way while she was decluttering before she went in the nursing home. And I'm kind of hoping I get some more cookbooks from there at some point, but I don't know if I will be the one to get those. I know they exist, so it's a chance. But at the same time, my uncles still live in the same house, so. But it's like, I'm kind of down to the point on some things that it's like, okay, where is it from and who actually has a purpose for it, and do they have enough recollection of it that it matters? Like my daughter just the other day asked where Beepaw's biscuit cutters went. I have no idea. None. Absolutely no recollection of him having biscuit cutters, but I do know that he liked round biscuits, and that's what he taught her how to make. So it's like I'm kind of trying to balance some of that, but we at least have workspace. If you have good ideas on teaching teenagers to actually clean up and do the dishes after themselves when they go on cooking sprees, let me know. With the state of the kitchen, when they get done with that I can't just quickly go in, clean it up, and have it clear. I don't know. I see that as a benefit. I don't know if you guys see that as a benefit to having less stuff, but Yeah. And there's some things that I'm still missing. And there's some things that it's one of those things they had planned for certain things and the recipes don't match the way they had been cooked at, towards the end. So like my grandma, and when she passed and they were cleaning out the apartment because granddad had dementia and needed to be moved to assisted living like immediately. There were like 3 things that everybody wanted. He was in the apartment for literally one night by himself. And she passed November 25th. And no. She passed November 24th. And he was in the apartment one night without her on his own. In that 24-hour time period, and I know there were other people in the apartment during the day, so it had to have been overnight. Their Christmas tree, they had this beautiful 2D woven Christmas tree from when they lived in South America that disappeared. Just straight up disappeared. And her little black book of recipes. Now, when they were cleaning out the office, they did find both an electronic copy as well as a printed copy of the recipes from the little black book, but it was not all of the recipes, and not all of the recipes matched the way she was making them. Because like paella, for instance, my aunts and uncles remember paella one way, but she had changed how she made it when I went vegetarian. And so she hadn't adjusted the recipe, but it's like, okay, I could kind of see, okay, if I changed this to this and left out that, it would be like, but I haven't been able to duplicate it. Yeah, and see, we don't have a lot of good secondhand stores around here. At least not in my opinion. We've got a few places that I could find like more cast iron and stuff for them if they wanted it. I don't know. I don't like shopping though. So but I don't know. To me, I see it has been a great benefit for the feeling of overwhelm that I have kind of dealt with my whole adult life. Which, in all honesty, I mean, I've been dealing with chronic illness since I was 15 or 16 and got diagnosed with the Ehlers Danlos. And generally living in too much stuff since I moved out of my exes at 23, I think. Yes, you heard cast iron. We have been talking about how, so kind of the theme for tonight is how minimizing and reducing is helpful with chronic illness and things like that. But I had mentioned that, how do I downsize cast iron? Especially when I know my kids getting what when they move out. But yeah, I've got a couple boxes out there. We had some water issues the other day, and I need to dig out this one box that's underneath this rack, covering up the vent. But I need something to put on top of the vent. I actually got my Instant Pot on Facebook Marketplace. I would totally buy my kids Instant Pots when they move out, but I think they would think I was nuts because they're afraid of the Instant Pot. Like, and I'm like, it's simple. You just dump the stuff in and they're like, but that seems too simple. Isn't simple a good thing? So I was going to say, and I know you guys had mentioned the cast iron a couple of times. How are you determining who gets what and what you're going to keep in your rig? Because you guys are planning on basically having everything with you when you go back out, right? And that's one thing, like, I mean, I've watched you guys live since sometime last summer, I think. And I've kind of followed Becky as she would, every time I lean on this table, I shake you guys. By the way, is it Roy or Becky, or are you guys both here? Yeah. Well, and that's one thing I found with the minimalism game, because, like, I'd done the 15-minute fly lady thing where I'd, like, okay, cool. Where I would, like, spend 15 minutes in a room, but that's one of those things where 15 minutes in a room is, there's so much in a room, you just kind of have that feeling that you're not going to get anywhere. And I was so scattered all over the room, it never felt like I made progress. Hey, Red. And then at the same time, when I tried KonMari and I was pulling everything out, I felt really overwhelmed. So that would kind of stall me out. But then the minimalism game, it was like, it was a focused, and it wasn't 15 minutes, but it was like, okay, you just focused on one little area until you found enough items. I don't know. Does that make sense? And I guess that's one thing, you know. Hi, Christina. I think that was one benefit of playing that game in January, was that I kind of learned how to focus in on a certain area, work through the entire area, but since it was a small area, that never took a long time. So then I didn't have the overwhelm start. Yeah, and see, that's kind of where I'm at now, is like, it's like, there's so much crap. And like, so if I look over here, let me get rid of this banner. I don't know how to do that. I'd get rid of the name too, but I don't know how to do that either. All right, so I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Oh, I can't move that. There's a cat there. All right, so that stack right there is all cardstock. And around the corner in my closet is a dresser. Full of like stamping stuff and craft supplies, which granted for the herb stuff that is trying to run away with the computer, and my hematite that's attaching itself to everything because it's magnetic. Oh dear. And I can't, like, the Fly Lady stuff makes sense for getting on a cleaning schedule, but it never made any sense to me for decluttering. Like, I never really got anywhere. And then, like, I have a bazillion crystals, too. And I'm trying to picture those, like, if I was in a container house or if I was in a shuttle bus, where do people keep crystals? Like, Like, seriously, guys, I know some of you guys have crystals. Where do you keep them? I've actually done really good with my yarn stash. It went from like totes and totes and totes down to, I've got these giant wicker baskets from grandmother. It fills one. And honestly, if it was a matter of, I want to move here and it would really be down to the question of, is that yarn more important than that move? And at this point, the answer is no. You're down to them having to decide on 3 skillets, really? Is that because you guys are keeping all of the bigger stuff? What do you even cook in a 5-inch skillet? Like, I mean, I'm picturing that, and it's like, I don't think I would even... I don't think I'd have enough room to get the spatula in to turn the eggs. Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, in all honesty, that's why I am perfectly happy to let the kids divvy up who's getting what cast iron. Because I have an uncle that I don't even know what the deal was. I just got a text message or a Facebook message from him one day asking for my address, and like 3 days later, this set of, it had my Dutch oven, a round griddle, and I think 2, I don't know. It basically had everything you needed cast iron wise. And then I've gotten a couple from friends and things. So like, if I was to have to like, my son will definitely get the griddle because he makes quesadillas and steaks, and he pretty much uses the griddle for everything. I actually had a really easy time with my scarves. And I think that was because when I decluttered my scarves, I had gotten to the point that I was covering to go to work. And so if it wasn't a good scarf for covering, there wasn't a point in me wearing it. So it was easy to get rid of. Now my kids have a slew of scarves, and they've gotten rid of a lot of them over the years too, but now we have like one box like this of like scarves and gloves, and we could probably stand to get rid of half the gloves. I hope you're not passing down a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't know how long those keep. Red, I'm jealous. I want egg rolls. But Alicia, yarn is just insulation, right? You could just like net it to the back of all your cabinets and things. What is a Cracker Barrel grill pan? I know what you mean. Hey, Stan. I know what you mean by the Applebee's part of that, but I don't know what a Cracker Barrel grill pan is. I don't know. And like, I got a double burner griddle for Christmas last year. And most of the time, it was one of those that's double-sided, so it's got the grooves for grilling, but then the other side's flat. And it's like, it's a pain to clean. So my son will grill steaks on it, but then he doesn't clean it. And I only have one of those little scrapers that fit the little grooves. I saw so I said earlier, we don't really have a lot of thrift stores. We have this one consignment place. It's like somewhere between antique shop and thrift store. It's kind of weird, but anyway, there was one time I went in there and I really wish I had had the money. They had a 20-inch skillet. Actually, they had two. I just didn't have the money at the time, which is probably a good thing because I'm not sure what I really need a 20-inch skillet for. I guess I have dreams of cooking large meals for lots of people. Which, I don't know, once I get the campground, you guys will all have to come over and then we can cook for you. Yeah, I get that. Totally get that, Christina. I've got yarn. Well, I had yarn. I might still have a few balls of yarn. So I guess in that respect. So let's see here. I've got major amounts of stuff from 4 different estates, right? 2 of my grandparents plus mom and dad. But before that, my grandpa's sisters. Hey, Charlie. No, don't walk on. Okay. So Annie Mid and Annie Marg had lived in the same house together for years. They hadn't gotten married. They taught school. Actually, a lot of my like calligraphy and hand lettering pens and nibs and stuff came out of their house in one of the 3 estate sales, because it was, I don't know how that worked. It was Mid and Marg, I think. Another sister moved in after her husband died, and then eventually she passed as well. So it's like, I don't know, I got hand lettering stuff and yarn, lots of yarn. Yeah. I was going to say, and not all of that stuff went to me, because when they passed, I would have still been living at mom and dad's. So like, what are you doing? Okay. My portfolios have now become a jungle gym for a cat. So if I scream, it's because he lost his footing and fell on my leg and I'm bleeding, okay? He just doesn't understand the need for yarn, which I'll tell you, the best way to declutter yarn is to get a friend that crochets or knits or whatever it is you do more than you do, and have a fairly good idea that you're not going to have time to do so for a while. I wound up, I've got a friend named, well, he's not actually named Mouse, but we called him Mouse. He crocheted like nonstop. And of course he's single, so it's like we didn't have kids to run after. So I wound up decluttering a lot of the yarn to him, and he had just bought a house that had a basement in it. So he like literally, we basically took, not the vacuum bags, but like the bags that you put not that you put quilts in, but like you buy like quilts and bedspreads in, sorted it by colors in those and some vacuum bags and shoved it in his basement. So he had yarn for, he probably still has plenty of yarn for decades, honestly. But it's expensive. And now I struggle to deal with the acrylic yarn anyways, so that probably hasn't, that has probably helped me let go of it too. So have you worked your way through some of that, Christina? I had probably, sorry, I'm going to make that bigger. I had probably 100 seashells and rocks my kids and I got off the beaches in Florida and Cali. I dumped them in my yard before closing on my house. And see, I would struggle with doing that. I would struggle very much with doing that. Now, right now, I'm not sure why I'm showing you guys some of this, but. All right, so right there is a rocking chair, and underneath that is a pile of rocks, about a foot square. And I'm struggling with what to do with them. They're so like, if you look on either side of Charlie's butt, like that entire ledge is full of crystals. All over there, I've got I think Scott would really like this one. And Roy and Becky, this one came from the store in Knox. Yeah. I don't know. I have a thing for ocean jasper, apparently. Yeah. The story, because this was, so Dennis, I don't remember his wife's name, but so the people that own Geodes and Gemstones, the crystal shop there in Knox, his name is Dennis. I don't remember what her name is, and I can't seem to find it on their Facebook page, and I don't really want to text message Will and ask him again. I worked with their son at the casino. This was one of his favorites, but he's like, why am I keeping it? So he had put it on the shelf just kind of hoping it didn't sell. And I bought it, and he told me the last time I was down there that there was a like 45 minutes after I had left. They actually were going, I think, down to Arizona for a weekend to finish stocking the store for the year. So they'll be back. And it's only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 10 to 7. Yeah, and see, at this point, that's how I would be as far as wanting, well, I would actually like pens and ink for my birthday, but I really just need ink. I've got plenty of pens, too. You guys have me worried about the store now. I don't know if it's going to force me to log in or not, so I'll switch over and but anyway, yeah, so apparently somebody came in about 45 minutes after I had left to buy this exact crystal. And it was one of his favorites. He's like, I don't know why I ever put it in there. They won't find any fire agate we have at all. I don't know how much they actually go out and just look. I think they were headed to the warehouse. Well, and like they typically go to the gym shows and stuff. And like they close down January and February every year. And they're down in Arizona. I'm not sure that's the only place they go, but they do spend quite a bit of time down there. And definitely hit Tucson. And like some of the shows and stuff that they would normally have gone to didn't happen this year. So, and then on top of that, they have been busier than they had been because a lot of the shows they would go to, I guess, didn't happen. So people are coming to the stores and stuff. So yeah, they needed to stock a bit more. But and the thing about the rocks under the chair, they're like, there's a few that Granddad had picked up at various times, and like he would always label his. We're gonna put that there. Hi, honey. You're okay. So it looks like this is one of the few that he didn't, and this is one of the smaller pieces of obsidian Granddad had. And a multitude of geodes that aren't labeled because he doesn't know what they are. I had to have this one identified. But then okay, so then you get into rocks like these. And it's like, really? I would have picked this up. It's not labeled, so it wasn't him. But I mean, you know, he passed. Let's see here. Well, okay. He passed when my daughter was 3 weeks old, but he wasn't out walking by then. So like it would have been my like middle school years. We would have been going out on nature walks and I would pick up rocks. I mean, I have no idea what they are, but at the same time, it's like, what do I do with them? You can't donate that kind of thing. This one, again, no idea what it is. But it is from Centennial, Wyoming. It's like, okay. And then there was stuff like this, like, okay, it's a rock. What is Google Lens? One thing I have thought about doing, I wound up with this situation in my kitchen the other day. One place my kitchen is not minimal is on the aloe vera. I have very happy aloe vera. It produces lots of babies. And my kids brought me another aloe plant for Mother's Day. So there is actually a PP if it's not already in your camera. Oh, an app if it's not already in your camera. Okay, I just got a text back from Karen. She's definitely not going live. Kind of already knew that. I was going to say, do you guys care if I keep... I don't know. I like talking to you guys, and, you know, I got to say, if you guys can help talk me through some of the stuff I don't know what to do with, I'm fine staying on if you guys don't mind having me. They're tiny. I have them right here in my RV, I think. Yeah, why couldn't I have painted a small rock? And then, like, okay, putting it in the garden, or them in the garden. No, she said that it's a national holiday. She didn't even think about it being Monday. I'm going to have to look into this Google Lens thing, because that sounds very useful. So most of my garden has concrete around it. Or like we would be hitting them with the mower, which sounds semi-dangerous. Hey, Christina, I don't know how far away from me you live. Would it be close enough I could gift them to your daughter? And I wouldn't do, but like some of these that I have no idea what they are, and they're just random rocks, I would totally pass off to your daughter if she would like them. Hey, Khadija, how are you doing today? So Khadija, yeah, not that I can talk, is in Utah. Oh no. Break the mower, I know a guy. Is it you? Or is he sitting next to you? Or the guy down the road? There's a guy down the road from my uncle's. Yeah. But yeah, my daughter, I don't know so much if my daughter wants to crack geodes, but that's the other thing with geodes and gemstones. Oh, that's what I was doing. I was looking for that Facebook page. They do have a thing there that you can use to crack geodes. Like safely. It's not going to make me do that. Okay. All right, so this is Dennis, and I don't know who the kid is. Oh, not now. And just an FYI, in case anybody's interested or if you guys are around, they do have wire wrapping classes there really inexpensively, like $10 a person. And I came home with 2 rings, I think. And she's gotten back into doing those. Why? I guess there's a photos. This is how much I'm on Facebook, you guys. I don't even know where stuff's at anymore. Again, not now. There's where they cracked a geode. I want to show them a picture of the machine, guys. I was going to say, and it doesn't look like they're going to cooperate. Okay, Red. I was going to say, if I'm still on, we'll come raid you. If you want to go on early, pop back in and we can raid you too. That works. So anyway, Khadija, what we were, the kind of theme is of the night is how minimizing is helpful for chronic illnesses and various things. And it's like, it makes life a lot simpler and there's a lot less stress and less to worry about. And I wasn't really planning on being on for 2 hours, but I don't know, because we're sitting here talking too, so I'm not completely opposed to the idea. So anyway, oh no, please don't close all my tabs. So yeah, do you have tips on decluttering or things you've done to help simplify and that have been helpful for you? Is kind of where we've been going. I was going to say, a lot of people in chat with us have done major, I don't know why I still have this on here. Sorry, guys. Have done major downsizing. Like Red lives in her RV. Roy and Becky are clearing out their house. You know, I don't know that I've really mentioned any tips. It's been a rather disorganized life. We were discussing downsizing rock collections. That's kind of my downfall right now. I've got, like with the craft stuff, I could get rid of the stamps. I've got an entire drawer of stamps that I would be fine getting rid of. But my kids remember stamping with, well, my daughter doesn't totally remember a whole lot about Mom, but when she was going through her cancer treatment, she started stamping. And somewhere in there, I started doing Stampin' Up, so I wound up with more inventory. And then she also had an eBay shop and was selling stamps for a while. So, of course, anything business-related came to me. So I wound up with all these stamps. So it's like I've downsized to the point I've got one drawer and a dresser full. And they don't want me to get rid of them because they attach them to the memory of Grandma. But they don't want to use them either. Hey, Scott. Did somebody tell you we were talking rocks? Oh, please don't make that fall. I said you would probably like this one. 3,400 square foot house to 16. So you like halved it and then like 1/16 of it. Yeah, I find that it's very helpful to know that it's going somewhere that it'll actually be appreciated. Like, I struggle to donate to Goodwill, and I've done that more in the last year just because they started accepting donations. I still don't know if the local Humane Society has started accepting donations again. And that probably sounds really weird. So our local Humane Society has a thrift store it's called the Red Barn Sale Shop, I think. It's on the property of the Humane Society, and they open like every couple of weekends, or at least before 2020 they did. Hey, Scott. These are a couple that came to me from my grandfather. This one would have just been picked up off the ground. I'm not sure what country it came from, probably Colombia. I don't know if you can even really see this in this light. It's kind of clear. It's not exactly clear. We're burning stuff as fast as we can. Tourmaline for which one? I'm sitting here going through my head and I'm not sure what a tourmaline looks like. This one is ocean jasper. This one, I've had them identify it twice and I keep forgetting. I should really, this is why Granddad would literally have put a piece of tape on here and written it down. Right, this is my right hand. It wasn't quartz, because there is some yellow in it. It may have been tourmaline. This one's ocean jasper. This one actually came from the crystal shop down the road from Roy and Becky's that I keep telling them they need to go to. And I still haven't gotten down there to go. But yeah, this is an ocean jasper. Oh, wow. Oh, no. No. I couldn't do rats. Khadijah's not a minimalist. I do have stuff, but things that are useful like food and essentials and some decor because I'm home all day, so it should look nice. Yeah. And see, I was actually somewhere on the hoarding scale, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I was probably at somewhere between a 6 and an 8. Okay. I wound up with EMTs in the house July 2nd of 2011. A friend of mine had called, I don't even know how he managed to do it. He tracked down the number for EMS here from Tennessee. And because I had been having a panic attack for over 3 hours. Oh, this one's obsidian. So they lived in South America for 35 years. I want to say Peru for 2, Guatemala for 6 months, and then Colombia for like 17 or 18 years. And then they picked up a lot of stuff. He was a scientist. So, and like even after they moved back out here, when they had to get out of the altitude in Colorado, which by the way, Scott, even if you don't stay there, when I went to Steamboat Springs to visit them, like as a kid, that had some really cool areas and would be a cool place to to do some hiking and stuff. And they have, I think it was the YMCA actually had a hot springs fed hot tub and pool that we swam in at like 5 in the morning, in the middle of winter. Yeah, and see, like a lot of, I'm getting down to, I've always been very practical. So like even with my artwork and stuff, I was fine making things when they were for a grade, but then I've kind of struggled after I got out of skating stuff, especially on that scale, because I don't, it's not necessarily practical. Like I really, even in like my ceramics class, the one piece I really wish I had, and I still don't know what happened to it. It disappeared, whether it broke or something and somebody just didn't want to tell me. I don't know. This tall. And it was basically, we were supposed to make a functional pot. So I wound up calling it an umbrella stand, but it was basically like a bust of a pregnant woman. It's basically what it turned out looking like. And it just sat in the corner for several years and then it disappeared. But it was probably like the one piece from either of my ceramics classes that I really liked. But I mean, so even that is not terribly functional because I don't even know that I own an umbrella. And like, you know, large pictures of people, it's like at this point, I struggle because it's like, okay, if I'm good, and I'm kind of thinking towards, I don't want it to stay in my space, so I would want to sell it or gift it or something. Most people don't necessarily want pictures of people they don't know hanging in their house. You know what I mean? But it just gets to be so much. And I mean, that's another thing with like the yarn we were talking about earlier with Christina. You know, I can explain it away because it's practical, but if I'm not using it, it's difficult, especially if I'm not going to wear the scarves that I make or use the Afghans that I make. It's just, we often identify with objects the ego believes the objects define who we are. Okay, Scott, I probably need to read that about 50 more times, but I'm trying to hold an ocean at the moment. That is Ocean Jasper. It's not that it's like, on one level, I get it. It's not that it's not an easy one to apply. Because at that point, like, I mean, okay. We identify objects or we identify with objects, and the ego believes the objects define us, right? So that would be like saying, if I get rid of my artwork from when I was a teenager, I'm no longer an artist. And see, that's where my struggle becomes. Is it aspirational clutter when it's already done? Not really. I mean, I did make them, but at the same time, it's not necessarily practical, because I have a thing about big, apparently. And you guys, Khadija, I have actually shown this in a live before, but like, okay, so the picture I'm looking at, and I'm sorry about the glare. So that picture in the frame the way it is, and I'm sorry if you guys are getting seasick. She stands waist high on me, the chicken lady. You can't see the chickens, but she was actually, I think she would have been Colombia, and she was on her way to market with chickens hanging on, I don't know, a chain or a rope or something. Well, and see, okay, so I've got the plants here, right? Which could be argued they're not practical or anything either, but again, tied to funerals for the most part. But then, like, so this stack back here, you guys can't really tell the depth of that, I don't think. But there's about 2.5 feet between that wall and the edge of that cabinet. And it's waist high with boxes. Now, about 2/3 of that, as well as underneath that cabinet, and there's like a desk thing under it, and underneath that cabinet is also all artwork. And it's like, I've got one basket over here that needs to be sorted through, and 2 72-hour packs that need to be put together and moved back to the laundry room. And those will be done, and like this layer of my bedroom will be done. And that stuff over there is like you and these lighters. I can't just burn it. Yeah, and I'm kind of worried. My son's almost 18, and he's the only one keeping the houseplants alive. So I'm going to have to really get better about to a routine somehow. He is on a very good routine. Like, when he gets home, that is usually one of the first chores he chooses is watering plants every week. Yeah, I've never heard of Homestead Tessie. That would be one of those things where it's hand-me-downs. You guys are sitting on a couple of my grandparents. The barrister cabinet went from my grandparents. Well, it was actually my grandparents, and I would totally love to do this, but I don't really good idea. So my grandparents had a system. Oh my word. they were so organized. So they lived in South America or South for like maybe a little longer. And every time they moved countries, they had to have a manifest with everything that they owned accounted for. So, and by the way, one way I would make money as a kid once we moved up here, they lived 2 doors down. And they had moved to Indiana from Colorado. Once they moved back stateside, they moved to Steamboat Springs. And once we moved up here from Tennessee, grandmother would actually pay me a penny per sticker if I found they had these little red stickers that would be stuck on things from the moving companies from over the years. Yeah, we don't need to see you on your, just saying. But anyway, so I would pull those stickers off when I found them. Blame it on the lawnmower thief. So Roy and Becky had their lawnmower stolen, their non-working lawnmower stolen, and then returned to them working and cleaned with the blade. Yeah. Anyways, he got caught because he returned the lawnmower. And see, when I would get overwhelmed, there were so many times it would be like, it would just be so much easier if this place got swept away by a tornado. And I don't know. I feel like I've made so much time as I'm kind of coming to the end of this layer. I feel like I'm not making any progress anymore. And it's like I'm kind of settling into things are easier. It's easier to keep things clean. I mean, I hadn't dusted in years, and I've actually dusted quite a bit in the last year. Some of that was to play with Norwex, but you know. But yeah, and then it's like, I'd like to torch all the paper. I would really like to torch all the paper, putting our medical paperwork. My screen just went black, but I'm just going to hope that you guys can still see me. I'm talking with my hands as usual. And since I'm not really paying attention to this, I'll just turn off that. So hopefully that will keep me. Okay. So anyway, I've been working on basically combining our medical documents. I wound up in a situation where if I hadn't been able to get into my rheumatologist again, and thank goodness he had an exam, because when I had my kids and stuff, I hadn't gone for 7 years because there wasn't anything he could do for me while I was pregnant. And they had trashed all of the medical records. So, yeah, I can get organized. That way those can go with the kids when they move out. Night, Khadija. But like stuff like this, it looks nice. I don't know how practical it is. Maybe if I, which I here, basically, I could actually move all of these books and they would fill that. And it would just combine. Um, uh, are you going to bed too, Scott? Or are you saying like to Khadija? Because yeah, your little ones will be up before too long. You need to get some sleep. Yeah, and see, like I've been going through stuff, and one thing I figured out with the medical stuff, I had a bunch of bill type paperwork, like reports from the actual doctor with the medical side of things. So Khadijah's in Tennessee, so it's 10:30 where she's at. And she's got little ones. Oh, yeah, I guess it would make sense you are not going to bed at 7. Yeah, and see, it's like I have actually done, I made progress. I'm trying to think. It may have been on the Con Murray thing. So in 2011, I was telling you guys, I had a friend call EMS because I was having a panic attack, and we've been kind of given a heads up from a friend that was trying to get me help without calling EMS earlier, but he knew more than one Megan. So as soon as he heard the call come over, I'm not sure what part of Tennessee Khadijah's in. Her about page might say. But anyway, so at the time, I was covered in poison sumac, percent of my body. In case any of you guys have the wild and crazy idea to do this, do not donate plasma if you have poison anything on you. Even if they will let you, do not do it. So anyway, my son had brought home poison sumac from his aunt's sister-in-laws or something. And I got it off of him. And then I went and donated plasma because at that point, that was my main source. And I had like 3 spots on this arm. No, it was on this arm because I always donated on this arm. And it wasn't anywhere their equipment would touch. It was covered. They were fine with it. Within 24 hours, I had 80% of it. 80% of my body was covered in poison sumac. And then I went to urgent care, and they gave me prednisone. Both that did not go over well. So I had a 3.5 hour long panic attack that had ended in my finding out I'm allergic to anxiety medication. But in the course of all that happening, thank goodness the person that knew me was the first responder. And he was able to actually go to bat for me with the chief and whatnot, because apparently they were going to like try and have my kids taken away because of I was a hoarder. Because like, if you guys don't know, poison sumac, like you get these blisters that have like an oil and it spreads through the oil. So like I was having to change my sheets every day. Yeah, no, see, that was my problem, Red. They actually let me. They actually let me. They shouldn't have, but they let me because it didn't really affect. And I'm not allergic to poison ivy. I don't know about poison oak. So I didn't know any better. Didn't think about the fact that the plasma donations tanks your immune system for a few days. So it like just blew up. Completely blew up. But anyway, so yeah, they were like debating about like reporting me as a hoarding house at that point. And he had like, he knew stuff was an issue, but he was over here enough to know that it didn't affect my ability to be a good mom to my kids. But yeah, so I started trying to move because it was out of all of that, I realized I was with space. So like for me, one of like I could sit in my living room, and at this point my son's bedroom wasn't carved out of the living room because like now I've got bookcases making walls for him. But I would sit in the living room and I would start like getting anxious and having like panic attack symptoms after that and stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually have poison sumac in my yard now. Yeah, it showed up last year. So, and that's when I started painting walls. Well, but I kind of went through and I would start painting one wall in each room a dark color. And I got the big bulky bookcases. I was basically shrinking the rooms. And then I made more progress getting rid of stuff after that to some degree. And that happened like right around the time I had graduated in May of 2011 with my bachelor's. And then I didn't have a job, which is why I wasn't calling EMS myself. But so I was in a situation where it was like, okay, masters. And because of that and the way the rules are written with financial aid, I could actually get a loan based on the income from financial aid. Not that that is really what should happen. Hi, TBL. And that's just, so I was going to try and buy a house and just buy a smaller house. But to do that, I needed to sell the trailer. So I actually filled a 10 by 10 storage unit with like, it was literally, we just boxed stuff up to try and clear out this house. And then into the other bedroom. And like, it's literally, it has been this year that I threw out the last of the miscellaneous boxes from that. It's been a ton of progress over the years. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm making a whole lot of progress right now. You know, honestly, I still don't even know what poison ivy looks like. The only reason I know what poison sumac looks like is stopped by I don't know. She wasn't really around last year. I haven't done, it had to have been last year though, because she's been down with back surgery this year. So it had to have been last year. And she's like, you need to get rid of that stuff on your steps. And I'm like, what is it? Back like 5 or 6 times in the last 6 years. And yeah, that's how I found out what poison sumac even looks like. And Interestingly enough, I also had jewelweed pop up in my garden last year, which is a natural remedy for poison sumac, poison ivy, and poison oak. That was really cool. It took me some tracking down to actually get it identified, but I thought it was really interesting the way Mother Earth kind of always puts the remedy near the problem plant. I don't know. This thing is like waving. And I don't know where it wants to be. The red. Are you actually ready yet? Because we could totally just come raid you. If you're ready and want to go live. So TBL, the topic for tonight has been like benefits of minimizing and decluttering and downsizing. So feel free to jump in if you have tips, tricks, ideas. We've kind of talked about aspirational clutter and crystal clutter or rock clutter. Sorry, I don't mean to call you clutter, but like rocks that are not like, I don't know. Roy and Becky gave me the name of an app that I've already lost. All right. Anybody remember what the name of that app is? I haven't seen them in here in a while. I thought I wrote that on here. Somebody's name. I've got a name of channel. Oh, I wrote that on the LOB. Google Lens. Thank you. So yeah. Oh, I got sidetracked. So I have all these aloe plants in my kitchen, and this is one of those things where the whole making things practical is maybe somewhat impractical. So I've got I've got a container, like a full glass, about the size of this, that Mom, and it used to have a lid. I haven't seen the lid in forever, but Mom, rubber bands in it. And I'm not really sure where she even kept it now. Like, I don't remember. I have no idea where it actually sat. It was always where the rubber bands were at. And I know that that's where the rubber bands were at because whenever I got it and started using it for aloe, there were rubber bands melted in the bottom of it. So anyway, I filled it up like 2/3 of the way with dirt. So here's this ocean jasper. The aloe that is in it, there's like 2 main ones, but they're like up here like this. Like it's totally not heavy enough to hold that. And then there's been the first ones I've got an old metal coffee can. Out at camp, they would be used as I spray painted it black and gold, and I flipped like one of those like ceramic pots upside down in the bottom so water could drain away, and yet they could still kind of get water when they needed it, sort of. And put, just a little bit of dirt up at the top, and that thing fills like half of my kitchen window. There's like cascades down. Yeah, we had the window open the other day, and it's a bit top heavy. And so it went into the sink. And then my kids brought me another pot that's actually, the pot itself is smaller than this. And the aloe in that actually stands about a foot, maybe a little more tall. And it already has 2 babies in the pot. So I'm trying to figure out, I was thinking maybe, I've got one of those like long planter thing. I'm thinking maybe I could put rocks in the bottom of it to make it heavier. The problem is, like, this rock is very light. I don't know, I wouldn't consider this a volcanic rock, so I don't know why it's so light, but maybe it's just light because I've been holding this ocean jasper for so long. But yeah, so I've thought about using some of the rocks to weight that down. I've also been thinking about figuring out a way to gift some of the aloe somewhere. I've got, like, the coffee can of aloe was like so overfilled with aloe at one point that it was dropping babies off the side. Like, they would spring up and they would have so little holding them in that they would literally just drop on the windowsill. So I started putting them in hanging baskets. Like, a plant in it that's like half dead. If you know anything about bringing spider plants back to life, let me know. But out by my other kitchen window, I stuck an aloe in that spider plant, and it's doing well. I need to get it out of the thing with the spider plant, though. But that was supposed to go to my aunt, and then my cousin wound up just grabbing a couple of babies off of the one at Grandma's down at the farm. It's like, I thought about using some of that way, and that would be a practical use for them. And it's a container I already have, so it's not adding to clutter. Part of me is saying, I don't know, one of the disadvantages of decluttering is, like, when you wind up with stuff, you need to buy things because you decluttered them. Thank you, Ford Man. Yeah, I'm down to check the Google Lens and identify some of these. And I could totally see getting into some of that with the kids next year. But the 2 older kids actually don't need science classes. They need English, they need math. I know my son needs electives. I haven't asked his sister what she needs yet. But then the younger 2, they still need science classes. So, like, I was thinking about getting into some of the rocket identification. Because I know they're required to have, like, a biological science. I don't know. My son took Chem Phys. I'm not a huge science person. I was going to say, and here's one. I'm not a math person. The one math class I actually did okay in was geometry. And I'm getting requests from my kids to teach them geometry. Now, I think it's a good idea for them to have geometry because of the logic the logic process with doing the proofs and things. I have no idea how to teach my kids that. Like, I mean, I can teach them shapes. I don't know. Okay, I wish you would tell me which way you want up. I have not homeschooled to this point. My kids are in school, but they've, like, this year they were virtual the whole school year. Just because of the added exposure, because their stepmom works frontline. She manages a Dollar Tree, so she's like with a bunch of people that aren't into masking most of the time. And so it just, between the masking requirements, which that household is very anti-masking. And at this point, we're going to go to school. They're definitely getting homeschooled. But at this point, the older two especially are behind enough they won't graduate on time. Their stepmom is kind of leaning towards wanting them to do some sort of alternative school that will let them graduate with their class. And my son's like, I just assume not have to stand in front of a bunch of people. But like, so I would be looking at homeschooling senior, well, actually 2 seniors, a sophomore and a freshman, or an 8th grader and a freshman. I don't know how you really work that with credits to homeschool. The 2 older ones are both juniors this year. So like, we basically need to finish up anything that we would need to consider them done with school. And anything we want. So like, I know I want to cover some personal finance stuff. My son definitely needs at least 1 more math credit. Like, if I'm looking at like what's required from the school in terms of credits, he needs another math credit. He needs lots of English credits. Government, U.S. history. You don't recommend it. And see, my kids are kind of going, I don't want to sit in a cubicle the alternative school, because Merritt, which is the one I know she's looked into. Who is Manfred? The alternative school that she has looked into is the one that I finished up. I had tried to do my government and econ correspondence, and my parents pestered me about it, so I just put off. And then I was like in France trying to finish these 2 classes that are a semester of work each in the 10 days I'm in France, because they had to be turned in. And like, my French teacher was trying to track down fax machines to fax stuff across the world. And I only got 1 of them done. So then I came up off work to go to this alternative school, and you sit in a cubicle in front of a screen and you work through it at your own pace. So as quick as you can read and listen to the material. And my kids are both like, that sounds horrible. Oh, very cool. All right, you seem to like this side up tonight, so I will try to just be this way. So what is Connections Academy like, if you don't mind my asking? Like, were you guys involved with that? Was it hands-on? What I've kind of all the way along sort of thought, at least my two would do really well with like a project-based learning sort of environment. But since we have joint custody, it's one of those things. I would literally, to make that work, without them on board with it, I would have to school 6 days a week, every week of the year that they were with me. And especially once I went back to work, that just wasn't going to happen. Okay. Because, yeah, they definitely like the idea of being more hands-on. And, like, my son has even said, like, he wants to, well, for years his things have been, he wants to be a blacksmith and a welder. Since he met his girlfriend, and she has worked in food service the entire time he's known her, he's kind of thinking more towards, like, a bakery. So, like, he very much wants he wants to make things with his hands. And, like, he even tried taking a ceramics class at the high school, right? Ceramics class would be a perfect situation for that sort of thing. There were more papers than ceramics assignments. Like, it was literally a paper a week that he was supposed to be turning in ceramics class. And the guidance counselors didn't know that. Nice. So did you go through some sort of an accreditation thing, or did they have to take testing? The thing I like about the idea of them having teachers elsewhere is that I wouldn't have to worry about proving, how do I say that? Like proving they are whatever. As far as, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. And, like, that's probably, like, one of my big worries is that, like, they're not going to be able to, which even if they had to get their GED, I would be fine with that. I think the other household might be having some issues with that. Because they both got GEDs. So, what is ITBS? Oh, yeah. See, we've been doing the regular school but virtual for a little over a year now, and that's not going well. Not going well at all. Oh. Iowa. I thought you were in Illinois, Georgia, and Florida, and California. And see, honestly, one thing we had been discussing was just having at least the older two, if not all four of them, take the pre-test for the GED to see where they're actually at, because we know that one of the problems with them school-wise is that they're bored. They haven't really worked well at because my son has processing issues and ADD, not ADHD, just ADD. And like they haven't kept his attention at all. And my daughter just she'll do the work sort of if she feels like it, but she's bored. We were to do the and then just work on whatever they want to learn. Yes, go get live. Yeah. And like, how horrible is this? So we had to go to the school to sign paperwork to even switch them to a standard diploma. It sits there and tries to scare them into the core 40 because it says that they can't go to a 4-year college, they can't get financial aid, they can't do this and that. And it's like, you can do all of that on a GED. So we were like, yeah, that's not really how that works. All right, I am going to get off here, you guys. Thank you for all the input. I'm not sure I really gave you guys a lot of benefits on how this has helped with various things, but thank you for helping me with some of this and stuff and whatnot. So I will see you guys over at Red's shortly, but I don't know how long I'll stay.
Oops, I'm coming now.
Thank you, Red.
The lag.
Okay, that's muted. That kind of freaked me out. Love you guys. I will see you later. Namaste, Scott.